I think if anybody knows me personally, they'll probably say I'm crazy and I just jump into things. I started playing with the boys like any girl in India, and I still play with them like they're all my friends from football. Do whatever you want to do and put the work in, and people will eventually come around.
Brishti, firstly, thank you so much for taking the time out for this. We're very excited to hear from you about your life as an athlete in India and of course as a pro footballer now overseas. So let's just start off with, a little bit about yourself. Why don't you give a quick intro to everyone listening on who Brishti Bagchi is?
I mean, I started playing football really, really young, around like 7. So I've been playing for like over 20 years now. And I started playing all kinds of other sports, but football, I fell in love with football like very quickly. And so since like 7, 8, 9, I started with SAI, which is Sports Authority of India. And then I played for state a few times, and I was selected for the national camp as well. But I have also been very interested in academics. So my main reason for leaving the system in India was basically to be able to pursue sports and education at the same time. And I also, thought might as well give it a shot now and see if I'm good enough. And it was a long shot, but yeah, I did 4 years of university football, soccer, that's what they call it there. And then I did 2 years of semi-professional, like second division football in the US as well, while I was doing my research. And then, like every foreign player, like there's always like visa issues and stuff. So my visa was over and I was like wondering what to do next. And it's very difficult for international players to get into the first division. I did a few trials and they were like, we have only 4 spots for international players. They're already taken, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, at that point, I got an offer to go to Spain and give trials. And I figured might as well, again, I'm kind of like a risk taker, I guess. I like to play and see, explore countries. So I went to Spain and it was actually much harder than I thought. I did a fundraiser to be able to support myself in the beginning. Did the trials, documents took over a year to kind of get finalized. So during this period, I was just in training, back and forth, Spain and India. And finally, it was funny because I got my documents and then COVID hit. And I was like, oh no, how am I going to get a contract now? Because I've been training for so long and I had a few offers. But luckily, I got a team and I got my first contract with Moscato. And then, it's been amazing. I just finished my second season in Spain, and now I speak Spanish and I understand their football really well. And I really love playing in Spain because they have such a big football culture, and they also have a very strong feminist movement. So women are really encouraged to play. So I was like, this is the place for me, and I continued studying. So I'm doing all of that still.
Firstly, your love for spontaneous and adventurous moves, as you've mentioned, has that been there since you were very young?
I think if anybody knows me personally, they'll probably say I'm crazy and I just jump into things. But I've always been like that, both in sports, academics, in terms of exploring these places. I really enjoy that whole process of putting myself in an environment that I know nothing about, and then trying to grow and learn and become a better player, become a better person. So and I think now it's been 10 years playing and studying and living abroad. So it's an amazing experience.
Let's go back to maybe your childhood growing up in India and being this avid athlete. How is that sort of entire storyline going to play out?
I started playing with the boys like any girl in India. And I still play with them like they're all my friends from football. And that's where it all started. And it's very challenging, to be honest, even to get to play with the boys. Even if you're playing amateur football, nobody really encourages women to play or even think they can play. So I think those challenges in the beginning really shaped me in a way to take on more challenges in life as well. And it was tough. It was really tough. It's still tough. But if you love something that much, you kind of just keep trying until it works. In India, it's still, I think, very challenging to play football because we live in a society which is kind of still trying to, allow women to do things that are like not your typical woman jobs or whatever you want to call it. So it's I think it's very challenging, but at the same time, I think it's a really good opportunity for women to gain confidence through sports and be empowered to kind of challenge the system. And I think that's why I'm also doing all of these interviews and all of that, because I really want to, see if football can be a tool to empower women further, and young girls especially, because that's what it did to me. So I'd love to see that more often.
I mean, doing things like this is where, young girls get visibility of athletes such as yourself. And, with the, for example, under 17 Women's World Cup being hosted in India in October, that's massive, because not just young girls, but young boys get to see that girls can do this. Girls play a World Cup, girls play on our home soil. And so I think that's very exciting, not just to influence the girls, but also to influence the boys and normalize just women in sports and on the playground, in the backyard, wherever it be. That'll be, really cool to see. So it's awesome that you're actively also advocating for that. I think that's a very important facet in an athlete, or at least a female athlete's, toolbox, for example. So I think that's great that you're doing that. What about your family? What about the neighbors, the society back home? Because the Indian society tends to speak a lot. So what has that been like?
I got really lucky with my family. They've been supportive ever since the beginning, and it's not just because of football, like even at the academics and everything else. Like, and I think it's also important if parents are listening to this, like to let children kind of discover things for themselves and just support them and be there, but you don't have to make the decisions for them, because that's when somebody can really excel, if they discover it for themselves. And so that was the biggest plus point for me with my family. Society, I mean, even my relatives, distant relatives, have always been like, oh, you're getting so dark and you're getting skinny and you have pimples on your face, you're never going to get married, all of that fun stuff. But eventually I proved them wrong. So I think, just do whatever you want to do and put the work in, and people will eventually come around.
That's a super powerful statement. You mentioned education multiple times, and it's, sometimes female athletes take to education just because you need to sustain yourself after retirement. But in your case, you really enjoy it and you're doing it just, because you're, and doing it side by side with pro football is not very easy. So can you just tell us a little more about your decision to continue academics to a high level and what you're studying currently?
So I have a background in healthcare and kinesiology. So the reason I studied that was it really assisted me with my own training and my own understanding of my body and how it responds, and how to be more efficient with my body in the game. But I kind of switched to other stuff now, which is like more physical sciences and all of that. And the reason for that is also because I'm very passionate about learning different things. And actually, one thing I do want to mention is it's like, I don't think you have to be if you're a football player, you have to just be a football player, There is a lot of players, especially abroad, who are like studying, working, doing other things. And I think it's, like over here, I wish like the system would kind of, let people do both, because you don't want to just get sucked into the game in such a way that it just controls you, It can get very stressful, it can get hectic, and I think it's good, to have a good balance is important. But again, it's very difficult. So unless you have a system that can really support you to do all of these things, it's almost impossible. So
obviously you've played 2 seasons in Spain. We know Spain is a footballing powerhouse. What has your experience been like?
It's been amazing, like even when I was training and not like playing with a contract, like even that I enjoyed so much, because the people there really love football. Like you can tell, and they really care about you and your development. Like they're not going to just be like, oh, you're a bad player, you don't know this and this. Like, for example, I didn't even speak Spanish when I went there. I was lacking quite a few things, because I mean, Spanish football is like very complex when it comes to the tactical elements. But they encouraged me, they gave me the opportunities, they pushed me. And people, like, when they see that you love something, they're there for you. And that is what, like, really made me fall in love with Spanish football and the people and the community of players there. Because regardless of what level you're playing at, there's always people who are passionate around you, who care about you and your development. I mean, it's not like, there are challenges, obviously, but overall the environment is very uplifting, especially for football players, and that really helped me um, develop myself and grow so quickly in their system. Spanish people are like, they love football, and that's why it's perfect for me. No, it's regardless of your level. People think like you need to be some, like Messi to play in Spain. You don't. All you need to really be is passionate about the game, and be willing to put the work in, and you'll be fine if you have just those two things.